Morning, everybody. So it's been a while, and hopefully by now you have gotten down the footwork, the Tai Chi footwork down, and in the 37 form, and you've been practicing your shifting, turning, and you got that all down. So what's next? Okay, so once you got the footwork down, what we need to work on now is the arms. Okay, the thing to notice about the arms, there's a few points that's really important. All you have to do is just remember these points, and your arms should be in the proper location where it should be. Okay, so first, hand and wrist position. So hand and wrist position, and I've talked about this before, and you want to be what Zen Ching calls it, the lady hands and the lady fingers. Okay, now what all that means is that you should have this nice gentle curve from your forearm all the way through the wrist and into your fingers, and just a natural curve, nice and relaxed. Okay, so you don't want to have a kink down or a severe kink upwards. Okay, so you don't want to be hyperflexed or hyperextended. Okay, now there are some exceptions to this. Is when you do the press. When you do the press from the side, it's still a very nice, gentle kind of arch, but there is just a mild extension, okay, not cocked. So when you do the press, you're not cocked, hyperextended. So it's just a nice, gentle push out, okay? You want to think about when you're doing the press, the push, is extending everything out through the fingertips, okay? Instead of thinking about pushing with the palms, okay? Next thing is elbows, okay? You have to remember, elbows are almost always going to be pointing down, okay? So the proper location of the elbow is just on the side of the body and slightly anterior or in front of the body, about 1 fist length, okay? It doesn't mean that you can't move forward and backwards, but that's the general location where you start out with. So whenever you do a move or your form, what you want to think about is, for example, when you're doing the left ward off, where is your elbow location? Okay, elbow location should still be, if you drop your hands down, to the side of the body. When you're doing the press, where is your elbow location? Elbow location still should be at the width of the body, so when you drop your hands down, it's still on the side, okay? You don't want your elbows to be flared out, one side or the other, okay? So when it's flared out and you drop your arms down, you're gonna have this really wide positioning, and that's not what you want, okay? Now, one of the exceptions is single whip. So as we're doing the single whip, the front elbow still remains on the side of the body, and the one that's doing the single whip is going to be slightly outwards, okay, but not by much, okay? So from a width standpoint, make sure it's always to the side of the body, okay? Now, as we're doing some of the forms like the press and the push, we can have some flexibility in moving the elbow, okay? Now, it can come out slightly forward, but the elbow, as you come back, should never cross what we call the mixed axillary line, okay? So through the side of the body, it should never fall to the back, okay? So, for example, when we're doing the press, okay, as you do the roll back, our elbows are maintaining to the side of the body. As you come up, it's still at the side of the body. As you press over, we turn and shift. Now we're pressing slightly forward. Our elbow can extend a little bit, okay? So the wrong way to do it is, as we're coming down, we extend and pull our hands back. Now you've noticed my elbow has gone beyond my body width, okay? Coming back, and as you come forward, if my elbows are behind my body, then that's also wrong. So everything stays kind of within this range. In front of the body, from the mid-axillary line to the front of the body. So again, for example, the press, coming down, my elbows, I'm maintaining the width of the body, coming down. Hands are not going back into the behind the body, and elbows staying just to the side and the front, press. Same thing as you do the push. When we shift back and we spread our hands down, we drop our elbows, elbows comes down a little bit, and then forward, okay? So we do not bring the elbows back, so this is incorrect, okay? So do not bring the elbows back to behind the body and then come forward, okay? So you gotta remember, elbows do not cross the back of the body. Now, other thing to notice is just the shoulders, and just trying to keep the shoulders relaxed, okay? So you don't wanna have your shoulders come up, okay? So, one thing is, for example, as we're doing after the ward off, we're coming back down. Don't try to bring your shoulders upwards, okay? Don't cramp yourself up. Make sure you try to drop your shoulders down. Initially, may be pretty difficult, but as you start getting your body a little bit more relaxed, then you can drop your shoulders down, okay? So those are some of the main aspects of where your elbow location, shoulder location, wrist positioning, how those should be. Now, how about wrist and elbow relationship, okay? So wrist and elbow relationship, the wrist generally should most of the time be higher than the elbow, okay? So don't keep it flat. So you either keep it a little bit higher or lower, okay? So one of the key thing to remember is, where do you feel the weight of your arms, okay? If you feel it in your wrist, that's generally a good positioning, okay? Now, if you start, when your hands are a little bit higher, you should feel the weight drop down a little bit. As you're lower, it should be in the wrist level, okay? So, for example, from here, okay, as we do the ward off, when we're relaxed in this position, you should feel it kind of somewhere around here, okay? Now, as we do our roll back, watching where our elbow position is in relation to our body as we turn, coming down, you should also feel it somewhere around here, okay? Now, if you drop it too much, you're gonna start feeling it going into your hands, and your elbows are gonna be straight. So it's just always a slight bend, okay? Coming up, do our press. Same thing as we drop down. Where is our weight? Where do you feel the weight? Okay? And lower positioning of the hands, for example, like brush knee strike, okay? As we do our brush knee strike, we always want to keep our elbows bent too. Don't try to extend your arms and lock your elbows, okay? So keep our elbows bent. As we turn our body, then our hands swings over, okay? So the body swings the arms over, and we keep this bend. And so as we keep this bend, you're going to feel that weight down into the lower portions of your forearm, okay? So those are some of the key aspects in terms of where your elbow positioning, your shoulder positioning, wrist positioning, where there should be. As long as you're doing the forms and you keep these positions in mind of where your arms should be, then your arms will turn out to be where it should be, and you'll have good proper form. So continue to practice the footwork, okay? Make sure you get the shifting and turning down, okay? Now, then add in the hands. As you do the different forms, watch out for where your elbows are in relation to your body, the weight of your wrist, the weight of your hands, Okay. See where see where those key aspects are. Now, sometimes it's a little bit too much to focus on all these things all at once. So pick out, like when you're doing the forms, pick out one thing. So for example, when you do a 37 form, focus the first time, maybe focus on where your elbow positions are. Second time around, focus on the weight of your hands, where those are. Third time around, maybe you can focus on the lady hands, okay? And then the next time, focus on the shoulders. And so work on individual aspects separately and then put them together. And once you get used to it, then you can start focusing on different aspects of, combining everything all together to maximize the potential of the perfect form, which I haven't achieved yet. But one way you can tell whether you have good form also is if you can feel the chi in your hands, okay? Now, if you can feel chi in your hands, if you can feel good circulation, chi sensations in your arms and hands, then that means your arms, shoulders, and body has been relaxed, and the chi can actually flow down to your hands, okay? So practice hard. Keep practicing the footwork. Footwork is always important, and then now incorporate the arms in there. And the next time, we'll talk a little bit more about putting the whole thing together. So not just the hands and feet separately, but incorporating the body, what Taiji talks about, legs, pelvis, back, arms, hands. Okay? Good. So I will see you guys next time.